What a pretty day. Good man, Emily. Put the troubles away. Good man, Emily. Get up every morning light, go to work from day till night.
Every morning light, go to work from day till night.
Get up every morning light, go to work from day till night.
Every morning light, go to work from day till night.
Got a pocket ticket for pay, and no money there. Whoever tell me pick me this tree. What a beautiful day. Good morning, Emily. What a beautiful day. Good morning, Emily. Put the troubles away. Good morning, Emily. Evening come and I want go home. Yeah, the shot and the piece of tell this I want go home.
Every morning light,
Evening come and I'm ready for drop. Yeah, the shot and the piece of tell this I want go home.
morning till evening, you work all day from morning till evening. You work all day from morning till evening. You work all day from morning till evening. You work all day from morning.
Money from work tonight, not a single soul inside.
Come home late at night, nothing to do inside.
Come only from work tonight.
Good morning, Belize, and welcome back to a new week. It's a Tuesday that's a Monday, or a Monday that's a Tuesday, but it's one of those days where everybody's going to get
It's too
thoroughly polystyrene. Anyway, welcome back. As I said, we're starting out a fresh start to a new week, so today's a tough show because you guys are in Monday mode. I have, as usual, our co-host, Dion Elliott, ready to talk sense, and I'm Kay Menzies. We'll try to keep up with him. Dion, what's new in the world today?
Well, like you said, it's Tuesday. Came here this morning and I was like, wait, the TV was off. And I was like, well, is it really Tuesday or Monday? Did I wake up the wrong day? come expecting it's Tuesday. No, good to be here again. And as you all know, usually the first segment we usually discuss the what's what and what's current in the news world pertaining to the economy and business usually. And I'm on this phase where I'm trying to do positive stuff, or at least things that have some type of good news going on with them. And I noticed last week in the news we had the pre-harvest sugarcane quality program that had started up north, where the ASRBSI along with the farmers, they're doing different groups of farmers, guiding them in this program to check their cane quality before it's even harvested, to make sure that they are, getting the highest quality without having to reach all the way to the factory. Which we all know that the quality of the cane is important in terms of coming to producing
Sucrose
sugar
content and all this kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into all of that. But we always hear about these TCTS ratios every time. They always talk about it, and basically it comes down to the better the quality of the cane, the more sugar you can get out of it. But boom, that's it. And it's important because I think everybody in Belize is aware that the whole arrangement that the quota system that we had at the European Union, that has officially ended at the ending of September.
And what does that mean? When they say quota, it's more than just special pricing,
Yeah,
isn't it?
no. What
it's
happened?
more open competition as well, isn't it?
What happens? I don't know if everybody recognizes this, but of course we know Belize is a somewhat drop in the bucket when it comes to the whole sugar production world. But the EU is a big player, and they account, from different estimates I've seen, account for almost about half of the world's production.
And beet sugar, which is kind of cheaper production.
Exactly. Now, beet sugar, what they had in EU was that they had a quota on their own producers in that region, limiting them, I think, if I'm not mistaken, to about 13 million tons, for any given period. And that benefited us because obviously they had to be importing, obviously, to fill out the remaining.
Well, actually, it was to protect all the ex-colonies and give them a boost,
yeah.
right?
And so now that's gone, and so now the guys in EU, they are free to to just do what they want to do. And I've seen estimates where it's showing that for just this current crop, they're expecting to see a 20% increase in how much sugar they produce in that region. So
Which means they're squeezing the traditional cane sugar producers.
exactly. And at the same time keeping some of their sugar import duties and tariffs on cane sugar still somewhat high relatively to what's going on with beet. So we have this increase, and in basic in economics 101, if you have an increase in supply, generally you expect that the price should be doing what no producer wants it to do, which
Dropping.
is to go down. Consumers will love it, but the suppliers will be constrained.
Right. And this is one of our biggest foreign exchange earners. So it's one of our biggest foreign exchange earners has been under threat for a while, and now the threat is absolutely real.
Yeah, and so I think we've known about this.
We've known about it all my life, I think.
We've known about that this was coming for a while, and I'm staying positive because I'm tempted to say I don't understand how come.
So on that note
On
of
that note,
positivity,
on positivity.
what are we doing to catch up?
On that note of positivity, we're seeing now where the factory, the local factory ASR BSI is working along with the farmers. Now we're doing it in phases, as I said before, with the 3 different associations, and then you have different groups, 6 by 6, I think that they're going at a time.
Yes, it's
like
6
18
each
groups.
year, so
Yeah.
it's 18 in all.
Yeah, so we're doing this.
This is the second year.
The second year of it, and what they're reporting is that they've been seeing increases in improvements, in the quality that they're getting, which obviously will translate into more sugar coming out of every
Per ton.
of cane, which is important because the only way we can keep up in a market where the price is falling, where you have more people's coming
Is
in,
to improve
is
productivity.
to improve productivity. And so that is what we're looking at. And some people would say, well, what's that saying goes, the best time to plant a tree and the second best time, right? So we're here. I mean, look at some of the things coming out of EU. They had a concern because before, in about 2 years ago, they had the milk quota that they had removed. That's a different story in itself. And back then, they found that the smaller producers for that particular industry were kicked out because they couldn't keep up. And so to avoid that, this is some of the stuff it says, to avoid this happening to sugar, the European Commission invested 5.4 billion euros in the sugar sector between 2006 and 2010. So they began investing to carefully prepare for this moment. That's a quote. So they have been working on this for a while. They also help their farmers. They set up a sugar market observatory that gives farmers short-term analysis and statistics about the market. They are providing storage facilities. They're providing farmer income support. So these big boys who already make up a large part of the market are giving all these supports to their farmers. So they're really serious about. So this is the competition that we're against.
No, it's even just up north in Mexico, the productivity figures are way different to ours,
Yes,
are they
higher.
not?
I remember, and this might be old data for me now, I probably might need to get an update on this, but I remember BSI, ASR had done a strategic report, I probably think maybe 2-3 years now, and they had shown that the per tons of cane, basically, they had it in hectares, where we were doing like about 40 tons per hectare, while other countries right in our region, like Mexico or Guatemala, they were doing sometimes 80 tons, 100 tons in some cases. So almost double what we were doing. And I think that's why when our first show, when we had Mr. William Usher here, I was so excited when he talked about the effective organisms and how when he used it in certain farms that was almost doubling output because that is exactly what we need.
Right, generally in all farming.
Yeah. So, but that was on the cane side, but the sugar. So I really think that coming back to the local, I mean, recognizing what we are up against in the global market. I mean, we're talking just Europe. We're not even talking about the likes of things like Brazil. You know.
Well, I mean, keeping it positive,
Yeah.
us and Guyana are the last of the two, relative to the rest of the Caribbean, the big sugar producers. And I think the hope of the region lies with us two countries, no?
You know, and I think one of the things that we look at, we look at Santander coming in, and one of the things I believe, well, I have to be careful how I say this because somebody's going to call me a capitalist, but but when you see something like Santander coming in, adding, building up these multi-million dollar factories, the question you have to ask, these guys won't make a decision like, you know, out of thin air. So they are obviously seeing market potential. And I think again, they choose to come here. So that says something about what can be done here, the
Right.
potential that our market has. I mean, we have some of the best quality stuff, and that goes for everything from papaya to sugar, you know. And we just have to be able to. I don't want to use the word exploit it, but capitalize on it, you know, as much.
Well,
as we can.
it's. I mean, it's good to hear that we're embracing the science finally, and we're looking to increase productivity. And it also shows what a strategic partnership can do, because the equipment, as I understand, is through Hershey's assistance. No.
Yes. Which is a conversation in itself, but yes. You know, I've always heard people say, I'm grateful for the assistance, and people say, wait a minute, why do we produce sugar here, sell it out there, and then we import chocolate?
Well, we're
That's-
working on that
we're
too, and that's
working
the
on
other
it.
good news
And
from the
that's-
south. We'll have
yeah.
to get some of the chocolate producers in at some point.
Yes.
To talk about the excellent Belize chocolate
Exactly.
that's being
You
produced.
still have the chocolate festival happening?
Mhm.
That's
Happens every May.
every May.
But yeah, so congratulations to those who are participating, and good to hear the good news coming out of the north. And hopefully we can look at sugar and see productivity continuing to rise. They say better late than never, no? But at least we're catching up, and hopefully before too long we'll be reading really exciting numbers.
The stakeholders, both the factory and the farmers, seem to have been focusing in on it. So hopefully that's some good signs.
What else have you found to be positive about
Well-
on this lovely Tuesday morning?
Well, now, with 4 minutes left, I don't know if it's positive, but it's more concerning. I mean, we've seen, and I won't dwell on this much, but because we've seen where last week we have the Belize Community Pharmacists Association are coming out regarding SI 54, which is this food and drug regulation that was recently signed into law and came into force on the 1st of November. And I can tell you that there's been a lot of conversations happening with that for some time, you know, with different stakeholders in the industry, including the importers of pharmaceuticals, and now we see the newly formed Pharmacists Association coming out. That issue, I guess it comes down to, again, going to consultation between public and private sector. And we had Mr. Ishmael Keros here last week, Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, and so this is a perfect example of the type of situation where the EDC, Treaty Secretariat, I guess, have to get involved to bridge that gap of conversation between private sector concerns and public sector. And I know he's already been somewhat involved in that conversation because we've had some meetings. But it just shows you that on one end, which is good, and nobody is fighting it, I can see where the Ministry of Health is making sure that you're trying to protect consumers of medication, which I think nobody, surely not me, and I know not you, would disagree with. I think that is obvious. On the other end, you hear, again, the groups like the association coming out and other key players saying, listen, we have nothing against the regulations, but can we talk about some of these things that may affect our business and how our business operates?
Well, I think the frightening, the unnerving thing that might have been heard on the news by many consumers is the notion that first world pharmaceuticals might disappear off the market. What was behind that assertion?
All right, so that whole thing gets quite pharmaceutical and technical. So, like I said, I've been working with a particular set of people from the industry and the line of work that I do at the chamber, and I had to get myself up to, okay, what do you refer to when all these technical terms like certificate of pharmaceutical products and GMP? But basically what's happening is that Section 4 of the regulation basically now mandates that you have to get these certificates like good manufacturing practice, certificate of pharmaceutical products, certificate of analysis, some of these certificates. And some are saying that, look, while we agree with the regulation in the spirit of the regulation, when we bring it in from first world countries, it's very difficult in many instances to get some of those certification. So what I hear some of the stakeholders are saying is, listen, keep those, but give us an option where in the event that we're coming from a market like the United States or UK where we can't get these certificates.
But you have FDA approval.
But we have FDA approval coming, and then we have certificates like they have a thing called the pedigree. We have the good distribution practice certificate and other things that go along with that, which for industry stakeholders are reporting saying are as equivalent as if these other ones. the GMP, you have to get it from a manufacturer. But if you're buying from a wholesaler coming out of the United States that have their own FDA rules, then how can we ask them when their FDA isn't asking them for GMP, for them to give us a GMP? And so what I understand the industry is saying is, hey, let's keep all of this. This is good, but can we have an option for this other stuff?
In other words, let's accept the FDA's guidelines where they're available, and for markets outside of the FDA, then sure, the good manufacturing practice certificate would be in order to ask for.
Yeah, and so it comes down to whether or not, and I've seen the list, and I think a conversation again has to be had between the private sector players and the ministry. And I think that is in the works.
Well,
because really it has to come down with these industry professionals who know this industry in and out, sitting at the table and really discussing out and ironing out some of these issues. I don't think the conversation has become adversarial. I think it's just a matter of let's get together and see what we can discuss and work out to make sure that we don't lose out on goods, that pharmaceuticals that have been coming into the country from reputable markets in the north or from Europe, while still keeping the regulations and just giving an extra option.
Yeah.
At least that's what I hear the argument is about.
Well, I think the last we had an update in the news was the Pharmacists Association
Yes.
saying that the minister had agreed to meet with them, no?
And there are several meetings. I mean, with some importers, with the Pharmacists Association. I mean, there are meetings.
Well, I think, there's always
Plan.
meetings.
Yeah.
But let's hope that in the spirit of optimism that you've kicked off with this morning, that we find some success from the meetings. The notion being that there is a common ground, that is to protect Belizeans, but also that perhaps a common ground can be found of protecting Belizeans without having prices go through the roof,
Yeah.
which I think is one of the concerns that was expressed. We wish everyone luck that's participating in those meetings this week, and hopefully the way can be found to go forward in this small market that we have. In the meantime, speaking of markets, Love FM will need us to go to a break right now, and when we come back, we'll be on to our main topic.
Alright, I'm going live now, girls. Let's do it again.
And I can't help loving myself, and I don't need nobody else. If I was you, I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me too. I'd wanna be me.
Stream, share this summer with the best mobile data and make it a fun time with Smart.
This is the sound of my pulse. The salt runs in my veins. Here is where I feel at home. Here, I can be as wild and free as can be. I can be me. Hi, I'm Rebecca Rath, and I love the sea. From learning to swim at just a couple months old, to now welcoming people from all over the world to enjoy my home. It's safe to say that, like many Belizeans, the sea has and will continue to be a part of me. Swimming, snorkeling, diving, I'm all about it. But while the ocean holds boundless memories, nothing scares me more than the thought of our water, this coastline and our home running black with oil. Join me and the tens of thousands of Belizeans who have and continue to say no to offshore oil in Belize.
Getting sick is always out of our control.
Welcoming a new baby into the world is always a joy, but with both scenarios comes missing time from work.
Now, thanks to Social Security new direct deposit service for short-term benefits, life is easier. No more cashing of checks, but a direct deposit into your account. It's secure, reliable, convenient, confidential. No more checks. So whether it's sickness or maternity leave, sign up today for direct deposit with Social Security. Social Security Board committed to service excellence.
Christmas is the time for caring and sharing and for fun family moments. Join the Love Crew on December 10th for Love FM San Pedro Christmas Parade. Residents and visitors alike are invited to line the streets of La Isla Bonita as community groups, businesses, and Christmas lovers entertain spectators of all ages. Of course, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus will appear in person to usher in the season. The parade starts at 5:30 p.m. from Boca del Rio, then goes into Laguna Drive, Pescador Drive, Tarpon Street, Barrier Reef Drive, and ending at the Central Park. If you would like to participate in the parade or for more information, call 604-3633. Christmas on the island with the Love Crew. Happy holidays!
Ask any landscape professional who they depend on for professional grade power tools, and the answer is always the same. Echo. Ask any dealer who offers the most powerful, most durable, and most reliable equipment in the business, and they'll tell you. Echo. Then ask yourself, doesn't your lawn and garden deserve the professional's choice? Echo. The best outdoor power equipment you can buy.
Always in need. What a beautiful day. Good morning, Millie. What a pretty day. Good morning, Millie. Put the troubles away. Good morning, Millie. Get up every morning like go to work from day till night. Get up every morning like go to work from day till night. Got a pocket ticket for pay and no money there.
Good morning and welcome back. And today we thought we'd switch it up for you and put our entrepreneur as the second segment. And then on the third segment, we will be discussing Social Security wage band. So please stay around for the third segment. In the meantime, our entrepreneur segment this week is featuring tourism because the season's about to start. And in particular, some of the tourists in Belize have wings and feathers, right, Ms. Samuels?
Definitely.
And so today's guest is Ms. Verna Samuels from the Bird's Eye View Lodge. And we're going to talk tourism and bird watching and all that kind of exciting stuff. Thank you for coming on the show, Ms. Samuels, and looking forward to the discussion.
Okay, I'm very happy to be here.
Yes, and we're happy you're here. No, yes. Usually, I start off. How long has Bird's Eye View been around, and how did you get started?
Okay, Bird's Eye View have been around like 25 years. And we got started, first of all, it's a Belizean family-owned business and managed. And we got started, it was my oldest brother's idea. He was living in the States at the time, and he came home and he saw the potential of, setting up a business like that. And my younger brother and myself, we were the ones who did the work, and he supplied the finance. So that's how it started.
That's teamwork.
Teamwork.
I like here. There's one phrase you said. It's a Belizean family owned.
Right.
It's music, but yeah. So you've been around now. Bird's Eye View Lodge. Now we do bird watching.
Yes.
Who's the bird watcher here? Where that idea came from?
Okay, Crooked Tree is a wildlife sanctuary. It's more a bird sanctuary than anything else, but it's they refer to it as Crooked Tree Wildlife Sanctuary. But it first became a sanctuary because of the birds. Crooked Tree is a wetland area, a very unusual area, and we have like over 350 birds, different species of birds there at any given time.
Even during the summer?
Even during
Wow.
the summer.
That's
Even when the
amazing.
tourists are not coming, there's still a lot of birds around. And some of the birds are very, very sought after birds, like the Jabiru stork and the Agame heron. Those are very, very special birds. So we have over 350 species, and we have a lot of bird lovers out there, like the Audubon societies throughout the world. They are the ones who come to us most often, but now we see other people coming as well.
How do you, I imagine that you get people that are repeat customers coming through every year, and then you get some that are new business and so on, and quite the mixture as you go along. How do you maintain the interest in Bird's Eye View Lodge with all the new hotels coming up and so on?
Well, we try to be very dedicated, and we always improve our business. Every year we put back a certain percent of whatever our income is back into the business to improve it. Like last year, for example, besides like infrastructure, we also did like trails. We open up trails. We try to come up with different ideas. We listen to our guests. That's the most thing. We listen to them. We ask them what they would like to see if they ever visit us again. And those kinds of questions help you to plan and to keep improving and to help them to come back like over and over many times. So
Do you keep them within the sanctuary, or do you move off to other areas of the country as well?
we move off to other areas as well. We always talk to them at night, ask them what they want to do, or sometimes when they come, we know even before they come, but we try to add anything that we offer or anything that we know of when we talk to them. We try to encourage them to, add that to the list of things to do in Belize.
So you have specialized tours
Yes.
that you take them on.
Right.
And do you know in every single tour, like, okay, these are the type of birds that you're going to be seeing in this area? I mean, or is it really just random? Like, you just go?
Pretty much it's what it is, because these birds are so concentrated, especially in the months of like February to May. The water level goes down and the birds are very concentrated. So the birds are pretty much there all the time. There are some birds that migrate and then, but our guides, because they are local people from the community, they even know where the birds are. So sometimes people would come to us and ask us, Verna, if I can only see this bird or I can see these two, and then I would say, hold on, I'll tell you what your possibilities are of seeing those birds. And I would talk to the guides and I said, there's a very slim chance at this time, or you'll definitely see that. And, we give that information to the guides so that, these people come back very happy. And even if they don't see a specific bird they want to see, they'll see maybe 100 or 150 different birds. So they always come back raving.
You sound like the certified bird expert. it's like go around this bush, around that corner, around that lake, you're gonna find this bird.
Right. What I like about some of our guides, they know the specific trees. So, they would be birding and they would turn off the boat, turn the engine off and say, okay, right here now you're going to see the black-colored hawk or whatever it is. And people are very impressed with that. I've never had an irate customer coming back to us and say, well, we didn't see enough birds. Or, no matter how the guides, they are used to seeing maybe 200 different birds. And maybe if they go and they see 50, they don't feel like they've done a very good job. And I say, I've seen much worse, and these people are raving. So why, I mean, it's not the peak season when they're concentrated. Like like I said, there are times in the low when the water level is low, birds are very concentrated. Instead of seeing 10 heron, you see maybe 200. You know, so when
Because they're all gathered in a
they're
small
all
spot.
gathered together because they walk around in the if they're like knee deep, that's when you would see them. You'd see them like maybe a couple hundred, and they would be talking because sometimes they make so much noise right across from the lodge. It's amazing. We say, listen to our choir. You hear bass, you hear tenor. It's just amazing.
It sounds like we were talking about productivity in another industry earlier. It sounds like your guides are very focused on productivity and seeing as many bird types as possible, no?
Yes.
How other than being of the land and knowing that this bird is in this tree and so on, how do they get trained up? Do you use Audubon, or how do you train your guides to know that not only is this the local name for this bird, but this is the the better known name or the scientific name and so on?
Okay. A lot of them go to trainings, and they also work with sometimes these birding groups, or the people who come, they even help to teach our guides, because all our guides would automatically know the local names, but they never use the local names to the guests because they don't understand what that is. Like, for example, Jacana, northern Jacana. Locally, that is called Georgie Bull. Which guest would ever, see any connection between those names? So the Belize Audubon do have a list of like the local names and the scientific names, and that's a joke to them, sometimes we would have that available, and we would, or even if we don't have it available, we will tell them it's locally called, and it's very humorous to them.
It's like a couple of years ago I was on a tour, and the local name, I don't know if this is even a local name or just a completely colloquial name, the Jesus Christ bird.
That's there's a Jesus Christ bird, and it's the same northern Jacana. So there are like, that's like 3 names coming up, and it's called the Jesus Christ bird because it looks like it's walking on water. It has its nest on the lilies, and the lily pads, they are so they're like submerged, or I don't know, it looks like they're walking on water. They nest there, and they're very common, so people would say, wow, is that bird walking on water?
And there you go, Jesus Christ bird.
Jesus Christ bird.
It has that effect. I remember the first time I saw it, I was like, wait, what is that walking on water? And of course you get the explanation.
Yes, yes, that's it right there.
I think one of the things I'm impressed with, well, this is our brand as a tourism country, the ecotourism. And I think your lodge is taking that to the extreme, because you talk about the area that you're in is a wetland. So the presence of your business is preserving that wetland.
Right.
It's keeping it there for all the functions that serves in the ecosystem. And you have, again, guests coming in solely for not solely, but largely to look at the birds that we have around this area. And I like the fact that you mentioned that you have a type of audience or guest that comes, maybe these bird watchers from organizations like Audubon.
Right.
But do you see an interest growing? 2 questions. With locals, do you see a lot of local tourists going to Bird's Eye View Lodge? And when it comes to foreigners, do you see any shifting or increase from new markets?
I would say that there's a very slow growth, like for Belizeans to be like showing a lot of interest in birds, but we do have some Belizeans coming to birdwatch. As recently as yesterday, we had a Belizean family, and they wanted a boat trip. And they went, but when they came back, they said, even the kids, they had some kids, and they love what they saw. They love the many birds, and so it's growing, but it's growing a little bit slower. That market is definitely, it's growing slower than the tourist market. But We started off mostly with the people from the Audubon societies, but then, like I said, we have college groups. I mean, they have like assignment that have something to do with birding and birds and wildlife. So
migratory patterns
yes,
and all that kind of good stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
We also had some people coming just to study the pattern of like the some of the hummingbirds. So it comes in all different little segments, but it adds up.
What's the most challenging part of your business?
The most challenging part of our business is the slow season. That's definitely the one that stands out. And the second most challenging part is the like the weather pattern, the floods and so on. That one would kill you if you're not careful.
Yeah.
Because we've been in business 25 years, and in that 25 years we have had 5 floods.
Wow.
5. And the worst one was when they had depression 16, tropical depression number 16. At that time we had like 4 feet of water inside our building. And it lasted half of the high season.
Wow. And you had guests at the time, or?
We had to send them other places. We send them, to Orange Walk, to Black Orchid, to the businesses in Orange Walk. But that really hurt us more than anything. That's our biggest challenge. Well, I would say our biggest challenge is the slow season, because 25 years, it means that every 5 years we would have a flood. And we're kind of prepared for it, even though you can never be prepared, because it entails a lot of work, lots of loss in business revenue, and even like the locals, our employees really suffer a lot. All of us suffer immensely when we have that. So those are our 2 major setbacks.
And you mentioned employees just now, and I have a second question with that, but I usually ask this question: number of employees.
Okay, in the high season we would have like up to 15 employees.
15?
15, yes. And low season, again, we just have like a skeletal staff working just to keep the place open, because we always say we can't afford to close. So if we have a cook and a front desk person and a receptionist, that's what we would do in the low season.
How many rooms does Bird's Eye have?
Right now we have 22 rooms.
Wow. That's a lot to maintain.
That's a lot to maintain.
I don't know if you want to talk about occupancy rate like this one here, but it's a common thing in the tourism industry in this low season, because I know most hotels, I think if I'm not mistaken, they usually go to the skeleton staff
right
during this low season. And I think one of the things that I've seen some hotels try to do is to encourage local tourists to come during the slow season.
Yeah.
Have you tried that? Have you been trying that over the years, and how has that been working?
Well, we are working on that as you speak, because September is usually our lowest month. I would even say it's a dead month. So if we have to close for any reason, which we don't usually do, that's when we would do renovations and those sorts of things, and that's how we would employ some of the staff. We would call them in to help us paint or do whatever, those little things. But it's not we are working on because with tourism you have to plan at least a year ahead. So I'm getting together with a few people, and we're putting some plans in place for next year, so that the slow season doesn't affect us as bad.
And you talk about getting together with some people, but which leads me to a question: how close knit is the resort sector in Belize? Do you work with each other? Is it that you have alliances or strategic partnerships with any other hotels throughout, so that let's say somebody comes in and says, I want to see birds, I want to see Maya ruins, I want to be in this part of the country, and you can work together as a network?
Yes, we have that. We have For example, if we have like four, let me see, we have our hotel Bird's Eye View, we have Crooked Tree Lodge, we have Jacana Inn, we have Beckspread and Breakfast, then we have Tillits Lodge. That's 5 in Crooked Tree. If they are full or we're full, you know, we send them, we send to other hotels. We would use some of their services or they would use ours. And if they have people who want to do birding boating, most of the other hotels, they don't offer birding boating, they would send them to us. And for example, when some of these, like the Bird's Eye View, Jacana Inn, and Crooked Tree Lodge, we are like on the shoreline of the village. So we are right next to the water. So if we're flooded, before sending them anywhere else, we would use the businesses in the community. But then sometimes when we're flooded, there's a problem with the causeway. I mean, people don't want to cross boat at night and all that, you know. So then that's when we would use other people's service, like the Black Orchid from Burrell Boom or St. Christopher Hotel in Orange Walk. We would definitely work with everyone. And when it comes to tours, we use the services of the Lamanai River Tours. We use Altunha, the services of the guides at Altunha to do if anybody wants to go to Altunha, we use their services. Cave Tubing, same thing. I mean, we work with a lot of people and they also work with us. Then if people come to us who are birders and they're finished birding in our area, we point them in the direction of maybe like Crystal Paradise, La Milpa Field Station, or the Galanjog Chanchich Lodge. I mean, those are people who pretty much have what we like the same overlapping of what we. So our aim is to make sure the guest is happy and get what he wants to do. So we always say, even if you're not using our service, tell us what you want to do and we'll point you in the direction, we'll help you. So.
Now, you guys were visionaries in that you saw an industry coming up before the industry really saw itself.
Yes.
What's next for tourism in Belize, given your viewpoint?
That's a tough one. I am not.
And the reason I'm asking is because we kind of live in an electronic age where it seems like more and more people are attached to these devices.
Oh, yes.
And you're out in Crooked Tree where you're supposed to be escaping the world. And I'm just wondering, how do you see it, because of the university side, the academic side, do you see your business growing, or do you see that there is a shift? What is it that you're seeing in your industry compared to when you got into the business a few years back?
Okay, I see a shift where people are very much interested in, no matter how much they love birds, they want to be connected to the rest of the world. So when people come, as soon as you finish talking to them, or sometimes even before you do you have internet service?
What's your Wi-Fi password?
And what's your Wi-Fi password? And those things, we never ever want to say no, because we see how important it is. So we make sure. We've changed like 3 times, companies 3 times, and now we're finally happy with a service that, yes, we feel proud to give you the password because it will work. So we always have access to the internet, and we have hotspots and so on. And so, yeah, but people have to be connected no matter what.
I think in this social media field, in this era of social media, people are like, as soon as they see the bird, they want to post it.
Yeah, that's another thing.
That's true.
They take pictures and they post
selfies on Facebook with.
Right,
Look, I did in my yard, and I saw a strange looking bird outside. I'm not a bird watcher, professional, but I do admire birds. And I saw this strange looking thing, and I took a picture of it and put it on Facebook. I'm like, what is this? An eagle? A hawk? Well,
50 million answers later.
I think, I think that's the type of thing that people will be doing.
Right.
I saw this bird walking on water, and especially if it's the first time they're seeing it.
Right.
Comes somebody's profile picture. I have, and I see the time running away from us quite quickly.
I
but-
think we have a
Okay.
bit more time.
Okay, good. Because one of the questions I wanted to ask you, your entire business model is designed around the environment, and I'm curious, climate change, has that been showing any effects? I mean, you talk about flooding, but have you been seeing any of that strange birds showing up that weren't there before? Any?
Sticking around longer, leaving
yes,
quicker.
Yes, yeah, we've had that. We have that incident with a bird coming all the way from Venezuela, like South America. And that bird, we didn't even know that bird was there. It was a guest that came and he said, "Hey, but I see something very strange out there. I see a southern lapwing. This bird shouldn't be here." And that bird stayed with, well, that bird did a lot of good for us because that bird brought us a lot of business. That one person emailed his friends, sent pictures and that, and in Nothing Flat, there were so many people coming to see us or to look for that bird that it was a good marketing for us.
Wonderful.
And it stayed there for like 3 years.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
3 years, and just around our property.
Wow.
And the same way it came, well, the bird experts believe that it was blown off coast, and that's how it landed in Crooked Tree. But the same way how it landed there in a strange manner, it also disappeared after 3 years. We have not seen it since. We have a picture of it in our dining room because we said, "You've been really nice to us."
Lovely.
Well, I guess, yeah.
When and we like to close off with one question. When you meet aspiring entrepreneurs, what is your advice to them when they say, "I want to start up a business, be it in tourism or anything else"? What's your advice to them?
Okay, my advice to them is always to be the best person you can be. And you have to be persistent. You have to really like what you do. Whatever it is, make sure your heart is in it as well as your mind and the rest of it, because without anything you want to do, if you don't really have the determination and the love for it, it will not work.
Passion.
So I think that those are the key. If you love it enough to want to do it, make sure you do it honestly, and you just keep on doing. Keep on doing, no matter how, because you'll have disappointment, you'll have challenges, but you shouldn't let those things, those are just, those will come and go, because many times there are so many things. If I wasn't a very determined person, Bird's Eye View couldn't last 25 years. When you're flooded, you have 4 feet of water inside your rooms. I mean, you've got to have a big heart and a big nerve to overcome that and say, I'm just going to think about the good times when all the birds are here, all the people are here. I'm not going to worry about this. This will pass. So that's determination is what will carry you through. You've got to have your goal, stay focused on your goal, and live your goal.
Well, Dion, I don't think we could finish on a better note.
I wouldn't even try.
Ms. Verna, thank you for taking the time to come in today. I know that you're busy dealing with guests and the season is about to start. So thank you for taking the time out from your preparations and coming to give us some advice today. Good luck and continuing success with Bird's Eye View Lodge. And hopefully we get to talk to you again sometime soon to see if any mysterious birds have shown up again and come to visit. But thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you too.
Okay, we go to break, and when we come back, we will be talking about Social Security wage bands.
The conditions will prevail through tomorrow, keeping the weather mainly fair. A 24-hour forecast is for sunny skies with a few cloudy spells today and partly cloudy skies tonight. Showers, if any, will be isolated. Winds over the open sea will be from the north to northeast at 5 to 15 knots, and seas will be choppy. High temperatures today will range from 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast to 88 inland, except only 76 degrees up in the mountains. The outlook is for continuing mainly fair weather on Wednesday, then a few showers and isolated thunderstorms affect some areas Wednesday night. A low tide was at 6:01 this morning, and a high tide is coming up at 11:58 this morning. Another low tide is at 5:15 this evening, and another high at 11:24 tonight. The sun rose at 6:01 this morning and was set at 5:16 this evening. The moon comes up at 8:31 this morning and goes down at 8 o'clock tonight. In the tropical weather for the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea and the Gulf of Mexico, tropical cyclone formation is not expected during the next 48 hours. With that, we end this report from the Belize Weather Bureau.
RF&G Life Insurance cordially invites our clients, friends, and family to our annual signature Christmas event. Make the Christmas catch you in a good mood on Friday, December 2nd at 5:30 p.m. at RF&G Life Grounds at number 1 Coney Drive in Belize City for an evening of caroling and entertainment featuring the Pandemonium Steel Band, Sandra Bradshaw and friends, along with other artists, and for the children, bouncy house, face painting, and
it's not just a job, it is mentoring.
It's leading.
It's showing.
It's building.
It's inspiring.
It's caring.
It's working. And you're going to drop that into your briefcase. Teaching is not just a job, it's everything.
Apply today. For more information, including scholarship opportunities, visit teachbelize.org.
It's not about turkey, it's not about ham, it's about the birth of Christ the Lamb.
It's not about all you can eat, it's not about the cake in the oven smelling sweet.
It's not about all you can drink, it's about a lot more than you think.
Turning a house into a home is more than just adding things. It's about love and family and the joy they bring.
It's not about all you can spend or seeking out people who lend.
It's about making what you have count and making it last till the end.
It's about sharing and caring and understanding.
So fix up your house and make it a home.
And remember, this Christmas, don't spend it alone. Don't forget to remember the true reason for the season, because without the reason there is no season.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year from the management and staff of Builders Hardware.
Imagine what's possible when everything you need is in one place, where all of your information is shared across a system the moment everything changes. We've handcrafted the truly awesome HR software you've been looking for. Say hello to the all-in-one HR platform. Say hello to New People. With New People, employee records are transformed from boring old files that no one updates to real-time digital files that you bring to life. When you use Neo People, employees and managers can view all of their own information, and requests for a vacation is now easier to book, and applications are never lost. So, where would you rather be working? You could work in an old HR world where softwares are boring and the system cause more headache than they should, or you can work in an awesome new HR world where your software is beautiful and friendly and where people are valued and fully engaged. Your employees will love it, and you'll be a hero, because the easiest way to manage your human resources is to treat them like people with Neo People.
The older I get, the more I think you only get a minute, better live while you're in it, 'cause it's gone in a blink. And the older I get, the truer it is. It's the people you love, not the money and stuff, that makes you rich. And if they found a fountain of youth, I wouldn't drink a drop, and that's the truth. Funny how it feels, I'm just getting to my best years yet. The older I get, the fewer friends I have. But you don't need a lot, and the ones that you got have always got your back. And the older I get, the better I am, and knowing when to give and when to just not give a damn. And if they found a fountain of youth, I wouldn't drink a drop, and that's the truth. Funny how it feels, I'm just getting to my best years yet. The older I get. I don't mind all the lines from all the times I've laughed and cried, souvenirs and little signs of the life I've lived. The older I get, the longer I pray. I don't know why, I guess that I've got more to say. And the older I get, the more thankful I feel for the life I've had and all the life I'm living still.
Every morning, light go to work from day till night. Get up every morning, light go to work from day till night. That's what pocket ticket.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back for our final segment for today. And in this segment, we're going to talk about Social Security wage bands. And with us, we have the Chamber's member of the Social Security Board. Please remember the social partners are represented on the Social Security Board. And our representative is Mr. Marcelo Blake, who is also a member of our Executive Council, your treasurer, right?
Correct.
So, Marcelo, welcome, and looking forward to the conversation.
Well, thank you for having me.
And just so you know, before we get into SSB discussions, Dion is trying to keep it positive today, so just keep that in mind.
Well, I mean, SSB is positive in the sense that we have to make sure that we are all a part of what the changes are. SSB has come to a point where there's a buzzword of the term that the actuary uses is point of equilibrium, which means that within a few years the fund may run out of money, to say it bluntly. And so we now need to look at how best we can ensure that doesn't happen, because for those of us who are still slightly young and looking towards the future, there is the aspect of when I get to retirement, if I will have a pension. There's that safety net that SSB is supposed to provide as a part of its mandate. And so, with that, we look at where we are. Contribution-wise, it's there's a split. Currently, out of every dollar, it's about 19 cents that goes to short-term branch, which is really your short-term benefits, including maternity, sickness benefits. And then you have your long-term branch, which is another 56.25 cents that goes there of the dollar. And that looks at your retirement, invalidity, survivor's benefit, and funeral grants. And then, of course, the third pillar there is employment injury branch, and that's 24.5 cents. So that's how your dollar that you contribute is split up. Under the employment injury branch, that looks at medical care, injury, disability, death, and funeral grant. And then, of course, there's the SSD fund. That's partially a carve out of that.
Yeah, so basically, you're saying there that the contributions that we all make every week gets chopped up,
correct,
into different things, and that's how you get your benefits. So when you get sick, it comes out of a particular fund, part of the fund that you just. How much did you say go towards sickness? I think it's a 20.
The sickness benefit is the 19.25 cents. And so, like you said, when you share up the dollar, you then see what portion goes to each, and what happens in that case is, as you pay out the benefits, obviously some branches are overfunded, if I can use that, and some branches are significantly underfunded, where you're paying out far more than you're actually setting aside of that dollar. And of course, pension comes into that conversation.
Right. Typically, pension is where your contribution fees has ended, and now it's time for you to benefit from the results of all the years that you've been paying in. Why is there this shift to where we're talking about the fund going broke, as you put it? Well, I mean, there's a point of equilibrium, but is there a shift in demographics, or what does the actuary say? Are we not saving enough? Are we not investing as we could or as we would wish? What's happening?
Well, there are a few things. One, from a pension standpoint, the pensioners are expected to grow headcount-wise by 10% each year, and we're up to about 9,000, just a little over 9,000 pensioners. So 9,700. And so that's one portion. The other portion is that, things in the economy aren't great. It's not booming, so there's not a lot of new contributors coming on into the pool.
And those who contribute may be contributing at the lower tiers rather than the...
Correct. Okay. And of course, then it comes to the investment. The actuary is saying that there's a certain investment point that you should be aiming for, percentage-wise. And we're just around that, but of course, what has taken a dip for us in the last couple of years is that your investments that were held with the banks or in any term deposits are now yielding little to nothing at all. So there's a decline there in that investment, and so then you're trying to find other ways of making up the gap. And so that's when, of course, a part of what we do is to look at investing in sectors within the country to help and boost growth there. So more persons being employed, more contributors. So it's kind of self-serving to some extent for SSB, but at the end of the day, it's helping to hopefully boost certain sectors within the economy to get them to perform.
It's just interesting to see how everything connects back still to the macroeconomy, and it comes back to that. But one of the reasons why we're here, because getting close to 8, but one of the things that we're here is because you had said before, and I like the phrase, I'm going to use that every time I'm talking about if I'm ever going, getting to the point of spending more than I'm getting, I'm reaching my point of equilibrium, where we are expecting, even for this year, to see a deficit for the Social Security Fund. And this has been in the news already, where I think the CEO had pointed out that we're talking about, about $11 million distributing out more in terms of about $11 million more than you're collecting in contributions. Now, so the whole answer to that question now is to expand the bands.
Yes.
Or not all of them, but the ones above those who make 320 a week. So can you please explain that whole thinking, like, okay, so we're looking into to change the scheme itself or the program?
Yes, there is a proposed change. But if I can, before I just get to that, wanted to just highlight a few things. The Social Security scheme in Belize being 36 years old, right? We've not been proactive in reviewing more often than not what's happening within the region. And if we look at several little areas that CARICOM benefits and contributions schemes in the region, look at contribution rate increases. We've not done anything since 2004. Well, the last one was 2001, actually, the last change.
The last structural change.
Structural change. So that's 13 years of no adjustments. The pension age still remains at where it is, and there's still that option for early retirement, correct? Where you could opt to go on pension earlier. And then, of course, the benefit formula hasn't been really looked at in any meaningful way. We just do these changes every 10, 12 years, and then we leave it there for another 10, 12 years, and then we go through the same conversation we're going through now, which is, okay, well, there needs to be an increase. Whereas when you look at others in the Caribbean, there's a structured time frame, or there are triggers. If your point of equilibrium is within 3 years, then there are certain things that get put into place almost automatically under their laws. And so we need to start looking at those types of initiatives in order to not come to this point again in another 5-10 years, to be able to say, okay, the fund is in fact sustainable on its own because you've put the relevant mechanisms in place. Looking at the proposal, it's everything over 320 and up to a ceiling of 500 that is being looked at as the new set of bands. And I say bands loosely because the proposal is not really keeping within the bands, but actually the contribution is going to be linked directly to the income. So it's going to be a percentage of. I guess the difference there is that under the bands, while each of the bands are there, there's a midpoint that's actually the insurable earnings. So 300 to 320, 300 to 340, and the midpoint is 320. Yes. So 320 is the insurable earning figure, and so that's where you calculate your sickness benefit. 80% of that is what you get as a sickness benefit. When you jump that figure now and you go the 340 onwards to 500, what is being proposed is that you do a standard percentage. Right now, when you look at what is on those bands prior, 0 to 320, it is an 8% that is being shared between employer and employee. And so the idea here is to keep that 8% for now. And so that 8% now becomes 8% of an actual figure rather than just the band. So if you're making 340, it's 8% at 340, as opposed to just the 320, which is the median point on each band, or whatever the median is. It's normally at $20 center.
It's an interesting change. So, and I think in the NID, there would be definitely some changes in what employees would be paying, as well as the contributions coming from employers. And I guess that's the type of discussions that are still happening, because you have mentioned off air that there are still consultations happening.
Right.
I think you had one recently with employers.
Yes, there was one held last week, Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, where we met with the CEO of SSB, and basically he gave the presentation highlighting exactly what is being proposed, the proposal of how that split may go. I say may because consultations are ongoing. GOB, the unions need to be consulted as well. And so at the end of all of this, the aim is by the end of this year or before the next fiscal year for government to be able to have these changes put into effect. The thing is that if we aren't able to get those changes in, then what will happen is that you may have measures that will need to be taken further down the road, which may not be as easy on the pocket on either side. If it is that we are not going to address this in the, I don't want to say short term, but address more immediate rather than kicking it down the road.
Yeah.
And other than the discussions about amending the bans, I mean, you alluded earlier about the need to have different other structural changes that needs to be in there. And one of the things that you mentioned is to have a built-in system for it to be adjusted. That's part of the conversations now, or is that something that we're saving for a later time?
It's introduced as a part of the conversation now, but there I guess timelines stemming beyond next fiscal year, and looking at increases for the retirement age and taking that up, looking at that 8% and possibly increasing it to about 10. I mean, when you look at the region, we are the second lowest, just behind Jamaica with regards to that 8%. Jamaica is 5, but the average in the region is 10%, 10.8 to be exact. And so we are behind, and there's a cost that's being borne by being behind. And so for us to be able to be on par with others in the region, then there would need to be a serious look at that increase from the 8 to the 10%.
Okay.
And I think in many ways you're saying it's inevitable. I mean, one of the things with the advance in medical science and everything, that we have people living longer, and they are therefore collecting pensions longer. And so I think the conversation about retirement age, when you retire, it has to be had. I mean, it comes up all the time. I think the IMF codes it in the phrase parametric reform, these type of things. But it comes back down to adjusting the system. So I'm glad to hear that we are having the consultations, because this affects labor as much as it affects employers. I'm curious though, in the conversation, I mean, one of the things, I don't know if it comes directly with this, but we have another conversation coming up where public sector workers, the discussion about them contributing, they didn't say how much, but contributing for their own retirement. Does that come into this conversation here? Or it's something completely...
Because they are on two pensions. The government pension is where they don't contribute, but they do contribute here.
Through SSB's contribution that they are deducted.
Exactly. All right. Well,
I think somebody tossed out the notion that perhaps, and not to start any arguments, but perhaps the government pension could be mixed in and managed by Social Security. But that's, I think, a long ways down the road discussion. Also, your investment side is in need of some opportunities, no? Or further opportunities than it has had so far, or more lucrative opportunities, certainly, because you're not meeting your percentage threshold.
Right. And it's an environment that we're operating in when it comes to investment, where, there's the bankers, there's the DFC, there's several other players in the market, and so the market dictates the rate. And so while you're aiming for a certain percentage in return, basically you're at the will of what's
available.
What's available, what the customer is willing to pay and able to pay.
And if somebody's saying, well, I'll come to you, but I really desperately need you, you have to look at risk as well. So it might come with a 15% or 20% interest, but it's something you wouldn't touch with a 10-foot pole.
No, and that's it. The whole being risk averse to some extent is in there, and it's a big part of the deliberation when we're looking at these investments, because we do have a very good, it's 90+% in collections for those investments. So we're not at a point where we're losing money because we're not collecting stuff, or that 10% is becoming bad debt. So we're doing better than, not to toot our own hands, but better than most banks to be able to say, okay, a 90% collection and a less than 5% contamination, which means you don't have that much bad debt, is, I think, is commendable to the Social Security in managing the funds.
Indeed.
My last question, because I see we're at that time, but there has been, this conversation has been going on for a little while now. From your own impression, what have been the response? Has it been people understanding the reasons for it and be like, okay, we see why it's necessary type of thing, or is it any resistance, or? How has it been?
There's a level of numbness somewhat where there's not a resistance, but there's not a we know it needs to happen,
sort of
and
a
we're all
resignation.
on board. Right. So it's like, we know it needs to happen. And I think when you look around the business community, the age ratio will definitely play a factor, because I mean, like I said, some of us who are getting or looking towards retirement and with the middle of our prime maybe, you're
Speak for
thinking
yourself, I'm on the young side.
you're thinking the long term of when I get there. Most of those who are younger than I am would not necessarily be thinking about retirement, which is another 30, 40 years old for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so it depends on the captive audience that's listening at the time, particularly from our business community standpoint, to then say, well, if we don't do anything, then there won't be anything. And if we do, then we need to make sure that we do for the benefit of our chamber members, to ensure that we're not putting additional burdens on them, or significantly additional burdens on them, because cost of doing business, as much as you want to separate it, this is a major part of the cost of doing business. Your people cost is always the highest cost in doing business.
Indeed. And speaking of cost of doing business, we're at 8 o'clock when Love FM has to continue doing business. And so, Marcelo, thank you for coming in. Again, I think we'll need to keep tabs on what's happening here. So hopefully we'll have you in again sometime early in 2018 for an update. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for this 8th edition of the Business Perspectives show, hosted by the by Love FM and sponsored by the Belize Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We will see you next week, Tuesday. Have a great week.
I look forward to Christmas. It's a time for hope, a time to share, a time to be together, a time to be joyful, a time to be with friends and family.
Bank your way this Christmas and let us help you make this season one to remember. Use Go Mobile, Atla Express, Atlantic Online, and your Visa debit card for a chance to win a 60-inch smart TV, an iPhone 8, a laptop, and many more fantastic prizes. Visit our website for more information. Atlantic Bank, creating memories this Christmas.
In 1988, it was communication. In 2000, it was AIDS. Men make a difference. In 2016, it was Hands Up for #HIV Prevention. Join us as we commemorate World AIDS Day 2017 under the theme, The Right to Health. This year, the National AIDS Commission, the United Nations Development Programme, the Ministry of Health, and Digicel invites you to join us as we recognize and honor people and families living with and affected by HIV/AIDS. On Friday, December 1st, join us at the Battlefield Park from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., where there will be the commemoration ceremony, live music, live art displays, games, and much more. There will also be free HIV testing at the designated sites nationwide. World AIDS Day 2017, The Right to Health. This message is being brought to you through the courtesy of the National AIDS Commission, the United Nations Development Programme, Ministry of Health, and Digicel.
Christmas is a time for caring and sharing.
and for fun family moments. Join the Love Crew on December 10th for Love FM San Pedro Christmas Parade. Residents and visitors alike are invited to line the streets of La Isla Bonita as community groups, businesses, and Christmas lovers entertain spectators of all ages. Of course, Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus will appear in person to usher in the season. The parade starts at 5:30 p.m. from Boca del Rio, then goes into Laguna Drive, Pescador Drive, Tarpon Street, Barra Reef Drive, and ending at the Central Park. If you would like to participate in the parade or for more information, call 604-3633. Christmas on the island with the Love Crew. Happy holidays!
What's your idea of holiday happiness?
Watching the kids open presents. Preparing for a new arrival.
The look on his face.
Add to your holiday happiness with a Scotia Plan loan from Scotiabank. You could win cash and more. Get your loan today at your nearest branch. Conditions apply.